More speaker building tips from Patrick at Robot Underground. So this is the new Vato. You've seen this adapter top plate before on several, I think Sundown actually uses a version of this now. I don't know if this is the metal one or the plastic one, but, and then this has also been a modified frame. So we'll say double vent, it's double vent. So if it's good that your sister has one boyfriend, now she has two boyfriends because she's getting double vented. But I wanted to talk about adding mass. So basically what you do is, in this case, there was an inner cap that we pulled off. This cap, we did the reinforcement. I've showed you guys that before. You just put epoxy in between, you spin it around so that it gets nice and coated, then you put it in there, and then you put a bead down. And then what I did was I add some washers. And what you do is you basically hook it up to the, in my case I have the WT3, which is an older version that works with XP. And you just sit there and do sweeps. I did teal small parameters and it came back as like, I think it was like a 40 Hertz FS. So it's kind of an SPL sub. And all I got to do is basically add mass to it. And I don't know how many grams of mass it is actually. I just know that it was like a full tube of epoxy, maybe more. And like the washers created a pattern. I think I have the number written down of how many washers it was, so that way I can get consistent results. But the FS now is right around 31 Hertz, which is good enough. That's what I want. And then it's all sealed up. This inner cap is super rock hard. It'll never go anywhere. And this is in a pattern where the outer cap, which we will epoxy into place, won't affect anything. So it's just for cosmetics. That's it. That's how you add mass. Now another way to do it is to use something like silly putty or clay. There's the silly putty. And then you add mass. And then you do the sweep, sweep, sweep until you get the frequency that you want. And then you take the mass off, you weigh it, and then you add like that specific mass back to the woofer. That's kind of, I mean, that's more exacting, but I'm okay with doing it this way. This is the way I do it. So, and then somebody also asked a question of, what was it? It was Q. They were complaining, they're like, no reputable builder has a QTS that high. And I'm like, well, what's funny is the lower the Q, the higher the peak. I did the Recoil, not Recoil, Cicada. I did the Cicada woofer, which was a 10-inch woofer. It has an FS of 26 Hertz. It was a Neo version that I was testing, and I can't really release that video because they don't want me to release that yet because they don't want to get your hopes up on that product because we may change it. So, but that was an example that came in and had a really low Q, QTS, which is Q of total system, which is the QES and the QMS, which is a combined like factor that they come up with, the teal small guys. And but actually a lot of the woofers that have a higher QTC of like close to 1 or even over 1, it's those tiny little hump, which is actually more desirable if you want to think about it. What that means is that it's less violent at the FS. So, but typically a lot of the woofers that you see nowadays aren't even designed by the people that say they design them. Sometimes they just see what China does and they go, oh, okay, that's good. And you got to remember, most of the smart people in China are just engineering students that got their education here and then they go back home and then they help out the family business or whatever, or, you know, whatever, get a job and support their family doing that. So sometimes there's a lack of experience in their designs and you can see that. And what's funny is, like, I remember one time contacting China and I said, hey, can you do 4 slugs? And the engineering student made fun of me. And I was like, well, do you want this deal or not? Do you want this sale or not? And so I ended up going with another vendor because he was arrogant. And I'm like, that's bad news. I don't want to have to sit there and battle my build house in order to get what I want done. So I found another build house and the guy was like, yeah, sure, fuck it, I don't care. And I was like, cool. And I said, can you put bolts in it? He's like, yeah, we can put bolts in it, no problem, done. He's like, we do this, and this brand. I was like, done. fine. They do good work too. So that was a pretty easy deal. But so there was the QTS, there's the adding mass. I don't like to do separate videos for this bullshit because it mostly is bullshit. It's just because you guys have lack of courage to do this stuff on your own, or sometimes I know it can be lack of money. I'm not rich, but I've been doing this a really long time, so I've paid for a lot over time. Like I paid $100 for this software and this device, gosh, yeah, 15 years ago. So yeah, almost 20 years ago. And it works fine. You could the new version I have a link to in it's an Amazon link if you want to get. What is it called? It's not Woofer Tester 3. Whatever it's called, but Parts Express sells it. You can sometimes you can get it on sale for $100, but right now I think they sell for like $130, but it's still worth it at $130. Frames. Let me get over to the frames. All right, so I got the frames. So the question was, how do you add a bolt pattern to a frame? And the easiest way to do that without a machine shop, if you really want it to be done right and exact, go to a machine shop and have them do it. They'll have a basically a CNC mill that they can program, and it will be exactly what you want. And they can do, you know, a 5-hole pattern like JL. They can do a 6-hole pattern, which is standard. And they can even do an 8-hole pattern, which is on the 18-inch Sundown frame, and also happens to be on this frame. This is a Cadence super awesome subwoofer. Whatever that is, what does it say? It's the S3 W15D4. It's the super S3. I don't know whatever that means. Looks like it's just a pretty good triple stack. They use this as a. I saw this first on the Cliff Designs by Anaba. Anaba USA was MA Audio, Hot Shots, and Cliff Designs, and I think somebody else or whatever. But this is the old Cliff Designs frame. I like this frame because it has the 10-inch spider, and then also you can knock out the windows and use a ratchet tool to get in here. Typically, it's not this wide mouth. You don't need it. The ones that Cliff Designs had, which was they made a Cliff Designs one, which was like the CD12. That was a different version of the MA Audio Hardcore that everybody likes. That looks like it has a heat sink on the magnet. And we got a bunch of those from Anaba USA buyouts that we did. And so anyways, this one from the factory comes much smaller. And you can add the regular 5-hole pattern. But so what I'm going to do is, this guy, we're actually going to do a purple TI frame on it. So I got to get these bolts off, which is going to be difficult, or Ash has to get them off. She already stripped out some of them. So we may just grind them and get them off. And then what you do is you basically put it back to back on the TI frame or whatever frame you want to do. One of the frames that I really like is this Memphis frame. This is the Mojo frame. And because it has a very large spider landing, is pretty available. But it has a wide pattern, and so I actually go back and add the 5-inch pattern to this one, so I can use it on 5-inch pattern ones. And then on this one, what I'll do is I'll line it up. So, and now for as far as lining up goes, sometimes you can line up different bolt patterns that happen to be shared on a frame. A lot of times they're not. You could also make a drill adapter, which is basically a piece of aluminum that has multiple patterns on it, so that you can, you basically find a pattern that you like, you put bolts through it, and then you can come back and drill it by hand on the bolt pattern that you want. In the case of this one, what I often do is just, you can see now, this side's hole is smaller than the other sides, and so what I'll do is I'll flip it over. Sorry. So now we got this side, and then what you do is you can just line it up by eyeball, something like that. And if you look down with one eye open, you can actually match the distance here so that it's square or even. I often do this on the, like when I'm sharing patterns on the TI frame, like I'll get one done at the machine shop, and then the TI frame, the base, you can sit there with your fingers and go around and gauge it to make sure that it's centered. Because of the way the TI frame is. And then also sometimes if you want to do a shift pattern, Like on this one, we wanted to add a bigger pattern out here at the windows. You just shift it and then you line it up to where you want it. And then you clamp it together. I use these little mini clamps that I got from Harbor Freight. Here they are. Make sure you have the rubber boots on them because that's what helps hold them nice and tight. And you don't want to put them over the parts that you're going to drill, okay? And so typically you put the clamps on and then you can drill. Sometimes you drill from this side, sometimes you drill from both sides. You flip it over. Now these will sometimes stick out beyond the lip of the frame. So you may have to put it off to the side a little bit and then rotate it as you go. And you just drill them. Use high speed, low pressure. So the drill is doing lots and lots and lots of work. It's actually excessive work, but it's taking off tiny, tiny, tiny amounts of material at a time. And so that way there's no like, you know, like the bits locking up or anything like that. You don't want to get that at all because sometimes it can fuck up the positioning on the frame. So, but as far as that goes, that's what I've done for many years when I don't have access to a tooling company, a tool and die place that has a machine shop. Shit, now I'm looking at all the videos I want to do with you guys, but I'll wrap this one up. But that was the 3 questions that I wanted to cover. So tune in, keep your questions coming. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.